love languages, animal intuitive and sensitive, or animal communicator if you prefer, and Reiki master practitioner. This is Pearl Cutts, my highly sensitive parrot, my 23-year-old soul bird who wants to go head over to his casa and all of the interesting new things. I just got him this bendy rope perch and he's taking his time, not using it. And I wanted to just close out our 4-part series on highly sensitive pets and the hallmarks of highly sensitive pets, how to identify if perhaps you're caring for a highly sensitive pet, how to work with a highly sensitive pet if you are involved in training or agility or maybe rehabilitation, either from an accident or injury that requires body work and hands-on work, or even from an activity that maybe they're not as fond of now that they used to love, something like that, or you're working to integrate a highly sensitive pet into your family. And some of the signs that you can look for that indicate that your highly sensitive pet needs some alone time or retreat time or a break, and this is not the same as being introverted. Animals, non-human animals, can be introverted just like human animals. Non-human animals can be extroverted just like human animals. And the danger here is we associate, let's say, a dog or a cat breed or even a parrot species, right, my love? Did you drop your parrot again? This sparkly parrot has become a big fixture here in our series. Mwah. And especially when we're looking at, let's say, the Labrador Retriever, the famously friendly Labrador Retriever, and it's always perceived as being a very extroverted dog breed, but you can have introverted Labrador Retrievers. You can have Labrador Retrievers who are highly sensitive and Labs who are not highly sensitive. And and you can have parrots who are highly sensitive and are highly clear about what they're wanting. He's really been enjoying his nap time during today's recording. And so we've been talking about that too. When you see an animal that's kind of wanting to retreat or wanting to sleep a little bit more than you're used to, especially if you're caring for a new animal of a breed or a species you're familiar with, and your new animal seems to need a little more sleep, as long as the vet says they're healthy, it might just be that they're highly sensitive. So today we're going to talk about this final video in the series, we're going to talk about how to work with a highly sensitive animal when you have a busy, noisy, interactive family life, or when you are adding a new member of your family to a family that includes a highly sensitive family member. And for our purposes here today, we're going to assume that the highly sensitive family member, maybe it's you, but definitely that you've got a highly sensitive pet. I happen to be highly sensitive myself. I happen to fall on the highly sensitive introverted end of the spectrum, and I tend to fall on the highly sensitive end of the spectrum, which means I'm pretty much walking around with all of my volume controls turned up to 10. My physical body, my emotional body, my mental body, and my connective or soul or spirit body. My volume is always at 10. So I'm always trying to work on turning it down and kind of modulating that, so that it's manageable, especially if I know I'm going to be in a place or with a certain group of people for a certain period of time. And I don't want that to become overwhelming for me. And it's the same holds true of many of the animals in my interspecies family. So for today, we're going to talk about what happens when you are expecting and you're welcoming a new baby into your family, or you're adopting a child into your family, or you're adopting a new pet into your family or a new animal into your family. Perhaps you're welcoming an elder into your family who's coming to stay with you on a permanent basis. And so your highly sensitive pet is going to have to adapt to that. Or maybe you're even adding activities into your family life. Maybe your kids are growing up and you're out more, and maybe they're involved. I have a pet client, a human client rather, who has 3 golden retrievers who are agility experts, and they're record holders, and it's pretty amazing. Adding another dog to the family, or adding for her, she has opened a home business where she now has other dogs coming to the house, and they're learning dock diving, and so her dogs have had to adjust. And so we And she has one dog in particular who is kind of the matriarch of their little clan, and she's highly sensitive. And so you see her kind of go off and play by herself and do her own thing. And so consider how your highly sensitive animal is going to adapt to these kinds of change, these sensory changes, the environmental changes, interactive changes, where they're being asked to deal with more stimulation, whether that's mental, physical, emotional, or relational in some way, connectivity. And one of the keys here is to respect that animal's need for some space. And that may mean making sure that there's always a room in your home available that's quiet, that's maybe got the lower lights or is dim or dark, maybe is a little insulated and away from the really active part of your house or your yard. Maybe it means putting a little area out in the backyard that's reserved for your animal, where they know they can crawl in, or they can go in and they can just retreat, and that's their zone. Really respecting this highly sensitive animal's need for some sensory space, for some physical space, for some emotional space, for some mental space, for a place to call their own, to decompress. It doesn't have to be a crate. My tortoise Multi has her she shed in my bedroom, and she knows she can just walk back here and walk into her she shed at any time. It's just this huge Tupperware that's about twice the size of Pearl's little casa back here. And she can walk in, and it's dark and it's quiet and it's cool, and she can just hunker down and chill out for as long as she wants. You can also work with your highly sensitive pet in ways that when you're encouraging them to come back to the family, it's fun. And there's nothing like a little comfort food to really kind of break the highly sensitive ice, so to speak. The next thing to consider is, if at all possible, introduce the new activity, the new individual, and just the change in schedule or environment in small bite-sized pieces. That is not always possible. It's not like, if your new baby comes home, you can't just okay, you're only going to be exposed in 20-minute increments. That is not going to work. But so then again, we're talking about giving your highly sensitive animal, some space away, and just being very mindful of that as much as you can. Understanding that you're distracted, you may be exhausted, whether it's a new puppy or a new human baby, or an adoptee or an elder that you're caring for. Just to not expect that highly sensitive animal to suit up and show up with everyone else with the same degree of enthusiasm. Another thing you can do is just add in more of the comforts that your highly sensitive pet is really responsive to in a positive way. To just ramp up the praise and the rewards for any level of interaction. Because it is an extra effort and is an act of love, unconditional love on the part of that animal, to show up when it's a little more challenging for them, and to deal themselves back in and kind of go in and learn in the moment, kind of learn how to self-regulate if it feels a little overwhelming. And so really ramp up the praise, and also consider how you can, if that animal is in a period during the day and it's their dinner time and maybe they're a little overwhelmed and they've retreated somewhere, it's okay to bring their dinner to them and just say, hey, eat it, here in this calm, quiet place that you've picked out for yourself. We don't have to adhere so tightly to the schedule that an already stressed out animal is just getting more stressed out. And the other thing to do is, if you want to spend time with your animal and they're really a little overwhelmed by what's going on in your family, is when they do arrive, don't all tackle them at once. Be like, yay, you finally joined, like Flash, he'll come out and I haven't seen him. I'm constantly encouraging him to come in here, to lay down on the blue carpet that I have where he can get comfortable. And what he'll often do is he'll kind of do a drive-by, like he'll walk in and then he'll look around and then he'll walk out again. And I'm like, hey, bye. And at first I was like, oh, he doesn't like me. And then I realized, no, he's letting me know that he's aware that I have an open door and he's invited, but he's just doesn't work for him right now. Sometimes I'm doing a session, or I'm podcasting, or I'm making a video series, and it's just too much. It's too much noise. It's too much light. It's too much energy. It's too much emotion. And he's just not having any of it. So we don't, when the animal does put in appearance, we don't all want to tackle them, even if we're so happy and overjoyed to see them. Instead, consider how each family member might carve out a little time to spend with that animal one-on-one. As a highly sensitive introvert, and I covered in the last video that you can have highly sensitive extrovert, you can have highly sensitive introvert, you can have non-highly sensitive introvert, you can have non-highly sensitive extrovert, and everything in between. And then there's lots of other factors, the personality, Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, et cetera, you may or may not be familiar with. It might be helpful to you here to just consider how that might apply across species boundaries. But really, instead, go and sit with the animal in the place that they have picked out for themselves. Let's say I'm going to use our dachshund here again. After my precious father passed last year, our dachshund would go and just sit in what used to be his music room. This is now my office and my animal communication room. And I feel my dad's presence all the time. And I now is even more tangible to me why our highly sensitive dog would come in here every night around happy hour time. And he would just come in and just lay down on the rug and just it was dark, it was quiet, it still had some of my dad's things in it, and he just was decompressing. And so sometimes I would just come in for a few minutes and just sit down with him, not too close. I'm not interacting, I'm not patting him, I'm not talking to him, just spend some time. Maybe one person takes, if you've got a dog, would take them for a walk. Maybe one person puts your parrot to bed at night and another family member wakes them up in the morning. And it's just, as a highly sensitive introvert, for me, it's really all about, and always has been all about, one-to-one relationships. I thrive in that setting, which is why it's a slam dunk for me to do animal communication work. When I'm teaching, I prefer small groups. When I'm working with a client, I almost always will tune in with the animal ahead of time to have my deep conversation with them before I get on Zoom or the phone with my human client and have that deep conversation with them about what their animal shared. And then if there's any need for clarification or further questions, we can go back and forth between the three of us at that time, or if I'm talking with an interspecies family. But I really do intentionally carve out time to have these deep conversations, because this is what I love. And when we love something, and when it's like just our default sweet spot setting, that's when we tend to really shine. And so you may not see your highly sensitive introverted pet shining in these big noisy group situations or chaos of a big change. Another hallmark of a highly sensitive pet or a person is that they tend to need to warm up to change. They feel every little nuance change around them and in their lives, even a change in diet, even a change in the time of day that they're getting fed or walked, because your schedule's changed. But just understand that's going to be perceived as a bigger disruption to them than you might expect. And especially if you don't tend towards the highly sensitive person spectrum yourself, which is great. There are different pros and benefits and challenges with each. And I talked about that more in the first video in the series. But you put on your empathy hat and just tap in. We all have empathy, and you can feel, what would it be like if changing my dinner time by half an hour was like really a big deal to me and felt like a big change to me, and maybe a potentially scary change, or maybe even on the fight, flight, freeze, survival level, it felt like a fear factor change for me. So just consider that, and maybe don't pile on so many changes all at once. So if you've got a big change going on, that might not be the right time, if you have a highly sensitive pet, to change their diet or change their walk time or change when they get up in the morning, right, my love? Or when they do their evening neck feathers. Mwah. I know, my baby bird. He gets very jealous of the video too. He just likes mommy all to himself. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have questions about your highly sensitive pet, If you have questions about high sensitivity as a trait in animals and in human animals or non-human animals, I can certainly ask your animal and we can find out what works best for them, what they want, what they need to manage their degree of introversion versus extroversion and high sensitivity versus non-high sensitivity, especially if you've got multiple personality types and relational types in your interspecies family. It's our job to bring our empty cup, to bring our beginner's mind, to bring our love and our empathy, to ask the question and find out what we can do to make their life with us healthier and happier. So over and out for now. Animal communicator Shannon Cutts signing off. If you haven't seen the other 3 videos in this highly sensitive pet series, I highly suggest you go back and watch them. I think you'll learn a lot. I hope that this will be something that will be a benefit for your whole family, all species. And if you want to connect with me, it's animallovelanguages.com. If you'd like to share this video series with a friend who loves animals, especially one who you suspect may have a highly sensitive pet, I would love that. It really helps me to have your support. So like, subscribe, do all the usual stuff wherever you happen to be watching this, and do please keep in touch. Your happy, healthy pets is my passion. And I will talk to you soon. Okay, lots of love. Bye for now.